Look me up on Google, search the classics, you crazy bass. Hold me up and pull me down. It's a battle royale in the eye of the storm. Drowning in the shallows when the path is getting narrow. I'ma ride it out on this broken arrow. Fuck it. Hold me up.
Welcome to Unfiltered Idiots,
where we chat shit about real shit,
talk shit about those not giving a shit, wondering, complaining why they ain't got shit.
Here we are, ladies and gents, episode 18.1.
18.1.275.
Carry the one pi.
Something like that,
yeah, we got it. Anyway, welcome everyone. For those who don't know, we're Unfiltered Idiots. We have a wonderful podcast. My boy, Kenny. Kenny, introduce yourself, everybody.
Yes, sir. What's up, guys? My name is Kenny Knewell, born and raised in Aurora, Colorado. Have a couple of children, work in the property management field. And once again, I'm happy to be here.
Yes. My name is Wes, a.k.a. Metro, personal trainer.
Hold on.
Two
I'm
kids
sorry.
Southern Aurora.
How do you do that?
Just like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Metro. Okay, got it.
You always got to know that. Anyway, so two kids, also South Aurora. I've known Kenny for now about 11 years. Great dude. We both are just the two very compassionate people, but we're also people that believe, in the capitalist system, as well as like having a blended socialist system. And we want to start a new series that we're going to do where we're going to work on and talk about homelessness and where we think it starts, how we possibly could solve some of the issues. What are the quick fixes? What are the long-term fixes?
So, and I think that, if you're in Colorado, you've seen the growing issues with homelessness. And me actually working in property management, I get a view of that as well. So I think that it was something that we kind of talked about over the last couple of days, something that we needed to really take a deeper dive in. And I think that we've come to an agreement that we're going to do kind of a series on the homelessness.
In other subjects. Kind of really deep dive. Yeah. And we get that, like we've talked about this before, unless we want to be grifters like so many out there, which we're not gonna, we're trying to be honest and have integrity. We're gonna have to really grow. And we hope that you guys will respect that and try to share this to your friends, family. Even if you disagree with us, like we offer all the time to come out on our podcast, talk about, we're open to, listening and ideas. That's the whole point of what we're trying to do.
Right.
We're not trying to be closed-minded. We're not trying to freak out about.
There's nothing wrong with disagreements. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what makes our country great. And I think that having other perspectives and other opinions about things is what makes our world such a beautiful place. And so we do encourage everyone with a difference of opinion, or even if you agree with us, to let us know. Comments, put it in the comments, email us, do whatever on social media. We have a million social media platforms. But let us know. Yeah.
So first and foremost, we've definitely done some research over the last few days, and we've always kind of done this research anyways. But there's just, as Kenny was saying, there's a lot of people in this country, and even many that are homeless. But we're gonna really highlight the homeless, obviously, but that are struggling, and we think this is, some of those are one step away from being homeless, right? Mm-hmm. And I truly believe, and I think Kenny would agree that these tend to stem from a lot of the same areas. Where would you think, like, if someone was to ask you, deep thinking, where do you think most people's issue of having an issue about being able to motivate themselves and keep themselves going, where do you think a lot of that comes from and why they become homeless?
And I think there's a few different factors into how a person becomes homeless. One thing that when you sent these articles to me, one thing that I went down, the rabbit hole that I went down, is kind of mental health.
Yeah. But where do you think that comes from? Sorry, but
where do I think?
Yeah.
I mean, that could come from the way you were brought up. That could come from just the way you were born. But more importantly, in what I've researched, I don't think that we have adequate health care for people with, these kinds of issues. And, we'll sit here and talk about it, and we'll see governors and senators and all these other people campaign on having better health care and better mental health care. But at the end of the day, if you look at it, and the statistics show, we're not really making any headway with this. And that's one thing that I think that I'm going to kind of really tackle as my portion of this series
100%.
is really seeing where we're at in terms of mental health and the resources that we have available here in Colorado, the resources that we have nationally,
even internationally.
So, and I think that it's important that we tackle mental health first. Well, not first, but that could be derived as something that is much bigger in the bigger picture. So, I'm going to take that portion of it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
And that's why I kind of asked that follow-up question, was because, again, do things happen? And I'll tell you guys a story about, and show you the gentleman's photo. And I posted about this on my own Facebook. I have the video from about 10 days ago. But some stories are really terrible, and some stories are out of nowhere, and people are doing great, and they have a horrific thing that happens.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I don't think that I've really talked to you about that video that you posted. And I want to let you know that you are the guy that I know you are.
Yeah.
You have a great heart.
Thank you.
You that really, really, really touched me. And I know that was difficult for you. So
it was shitty, man. I honestly, man, that was a normal day. Went into 7-Eleven, and like I said, we'll talk about this on a little bit more in depth when we go out on the streets. But I do this all the time, and not enough. You know what I mean? That's my critique of myself, that I don't do it enough, but I do it a lot more than I see other people. And I'm not saying there's not others out there. That's why I said, when you do this, please post. Right. So I think it's going to make people, if you have the right reasons why you're doing it, not trying to get followers and clout. If you're trying to get followers for the right reason, good. But if you're trying to just grift, then, fuck off. But the reality is, right, some of these stories are horrific, you know what I mean? And they happen suddenly, car accidents or things that happen to somebody, and the next thing you know, their life is completely uplifted. Right. And instead of when somebody, I used this analogy earlier today with one of my clients, or actually two of them in the car with me. I said, when somebody trips and hits their face on the pavement, our mindset on many, many Americans, and we've got duped because of the wealth in this country, to be honest with you, our mindset is go kick that person literally in the face again while they're down and bleeding, instead of going up, offering a napkin, offering to possibly take them to the hospital, and then finding out later, in other words, lift them up first, get them back to, health, right? And then finding out later what happened. Oh, were you doing something? Could you have done better actions? Yes. So now that we got you healthy, how do we create these better actions in the future? Well, we don't do that. Right. We're kick them while they're down instead of picking them up.
I think that, and for some reason, especially in the topic of homelessness, I think that we have a tendency of kicking them when they're down and looking at them in a different manner. And it's sad. It's really sad to see. And let's talk about why. Why do we do that? Why are we that way as a society?
Well, and like I said, I truly believe that it has a lot to do with this constant messaging of right, oh, they're homeless, you bum, you don't work hard enough, you didn't try in life. Instead of saying well, what happened to you? Oh my God, your dad or your uncle or somebody used to molest you for 10 years.
Sure.
And you wonder why that child came out a little bit not right. And then we're well, instead of talking to them and getting them into a facility and actually helping them and getting them back to being productive members of society, thus bringing in that capitalism view. Because guess what people are doing if they're working? Dum-dums. They're buying shit. So they go to your stores. So Mr. Capitalist, we're spending money on these people. We're about to talk about that in a second. We're spending money on these folks, these human beings. Keep that in mind. Anyways. Yeah. So why are we wasting that money? It's going literally nowhere. Right. It's literally getting worse, even though the homeless percentage has gone down because our population is actually growing faster than but the actual amount of people per capita is actually increasing. Yeah,
and I happen to be part of senior leadership where I work, so I was able to kind of attend a economics conference for 2022, and just to hear and see, basically, the beginning of 2020, people were doing or 2019, the end of 2019, people were thriving, right? And then you take this pandemic, and it just all went away. And people are so close. See, people are really that close to being homeless. You don't even understand. They're one paycheck missed from being homeless.
Well, what they say was like the average person couldn't even afford an emergency that was over $400, like $50.
It was.
That's like a couple of tires. Like you catch a curb and there you go.
Could you imagine? Could you literally imagine?
Yeah, because I grew up poor.
Yeah, but just like I'm just saying, just like
you did,
like we have everything now. Like I'm talking about present day.
But we're still in a situation that a major medical bill. I mean, anything like that, totally tears to the.
But these people,
$10,000.
These people were just like you and I, right? Yep. Let's just talk about it like that, right? And they were uprooted and didn't even see it coming, right? And it happened to be a world pandemic, and so you're searching for your next. I mean, obviously,
your next meal.
This is the way I think about it, right? I'm like, okay. I am going to feed my family first. The cars, the house, the whatever can go away, but I'm going to ensure that I have food. I think I could probably get an apartment. So you start thinking about these things, right? Yeah. And we are one missed paycheck or one medical bill away from being that person that we look down on. You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's interesting to me if people really look inside themselves and really understand that person's situation that's, needs that, that health bar that you gave them or whatever. We don't know their situation. Have we even tried to figure out how they got there or what got them into that situation?
Like I said, they've fallen. We got to help them up first, and then we can talk and try to teach them about their future decision making. And while you're at that conference, what was the number they gave you for the housing price increase over the last 2 years?
So it was 189% increase.
Did y'all's income go up 189%?
No. Let's just
Yes, that's right, kids. He just said the housing market went up 189%.
I had to go back through my material and actually look to see if that was that person misspoke. In Colorado, we've seen a 189% increase in housing pricing and cost in Colorado. And yeah, that's why you see those King Soopers employees picketing, which, they didn't even get a fair increase in what I'm thinking, right? Yeah. But it's insane. It's insane.
So think about this. So
this stuff gets me fired up talking about.
Yeah, and it's emotional, man. I mean, that video, the tears were like, this happened like so quickly and caught me so quickly that I literally had to drive around the corner, and I didn't want to expose these gentlemen, so I took like a picture of them from distance, and I just thought like, why am I not making a video about this stuff and actually like trying to like promote others to do this. And, when you really think about, for example, that we have over 550,000 homeless people currently in the United States. And that's like, they're just the estimate.
550,000.
My source on this is endhomelessness.org, which is a great foundation. And as you guys could all see right here, there are an estimated 553,742 people in the United States experiencing homelessness on a given night. According to the most recent national point in time estimate, this is back in 2017, this represents a rate of approximately 17 people experiencing homelessness per every 10,000 people in the general population. Homelessness is actually increasing per capita. Our population is just outpacing it.
So folks that are here in Denver, that's Colorado Springs. That's 550,000 people.
So when you're saying 550,000, are you talking about these are people that are on the streets? Yeah. They're not in shelters. They're not in anything like that. These are people that are.
Some of them will be in and out of shelters. There's like some, but I mean, you can't say shelters. They're homeless, right? Okay. And that's just so you guys know that source is from endhomelessness.org. They get their information from the census, from .gov. So I mean, this is a reliable source. We're not going to go check them out. But yeah, that's a staggering number. We have 60,000 of those are vets, people that fought for this country. Again, where are all these like quote unquote capitalists and patriots who love the military? Like, dude, like you're literally shitting on people who literally got shrapnel in their ass And who are those people that typically go and get shrapnel in their ass? Either the wealthy.
That's another conversation, because these people.
Oh, that'll be part of this segment.
Yeah, these people that they sit back and they talk about, they're for the troops, they're for the blue, they're for all of this stuff. Yet these people are still. These veterans are still on the streets.
The littlest things, guys. This is a bracelet I got. And what they do is they go to the Wounded Warrior. So like $5 of every $25, which I mean, to me, that's awesome, man. That's literally like 20%. Yeah. And that's great. It's just a Wounded Warrior. It's just got the little American flag. I wear this all the time. You guys see this on every podcast. Like I've had it for years. And it's like they have one for dogs and all that stuff. And they actually work with the veteran with the dogs, but they do anyway. So it goes to the veterans and it helps them pair them with dogs, but it's a really cool thing. But so there's a lot of those types of statistics out there. We're about to get to a couple of those here in a second. And while we're on that subject, let's talk about, again, one of the other reasons why people are being pushed into homelessness is Kenny brought up. We're going to show you guys this chart real quick right now.
As everyone can see here, this is an interactive graph. The household median income for Denver currently is at $39,806. As you see, I can adjust that and go back to, roughly right around 10 years ago. It was at $29,497. So you got a 10,000 increase in the income, in the median household income. So just $10,000 over the last 10 years is the average median household income increase.
Where was the average house? This is the next chart that we're going to show you guys. Where was the average house in 2010?
Ooh, 40?
200,000. You right?
Yep.
So now we're at 440. Yeah.
440,000. This is insane to me. Like this data, and what is this from?
So this is also from the census from Fred. So Fred it's stlouisfed.org, but they do it for everybody. So it's a .org. And they get their information. It's right here, as you guys see in the chart. It's right here telling you that it's through the census. And again, as you guys can see right here.
As y'all can see right here, homes went up more than double.
So when you just think about those types of numbers, this is where a lot of this stuff stems from, right? So why are people, like I said, why are we not understanding where, that this is not just people deciding this decision?
Listen, guys, this is pretty simple to me. Even looking at that data right there, we aren't holding our people accountable in the higher places that we're putting them in. And that is just factual data off the top of my head. It pains me to even look at stuff like that, because I know that there are people right now, now, that are struggling. See, let me piggyback off that a little bit. So, my job is to collect rent, raise rents, kick people out that don't pay rent, all of that good stuff, right? That's just what I do. That's what I get paid to do. However, when I'm seeing an average rental cost for a one bedroom in some of my markets at, $1,900, $2,000 a month, $2,100, $2,300 a month, right? It, in the back of my mind, hurts my soul.
Yeah.
It really, really does hurt my soul, because we know that people are not making that money.
Yeah.
So
39,000 is the median. Right. So like
39,000.
Your average house your average home is the median home. So again, median is the right way to do it.
Yeah,
for those
absolutely.
who don't understand,
that's how you have to do it.
There's a lot of people that are probably watching the podcast, and at the end of the day, the percentages are the percentages. Really, they end up being about the same. But your average income versus like your average home, that takes into account like your billionaires, your all that kind of like what they're, and then it also takes into account even those who are like literally not making like virtually anything.
Right.
So the median is the right way, right? And that's why those statistics are the median wage.
Everyone takes,
of course. And it's the median, because anybody with an understanding, you don't have to have a master's in economics to understand why that matters. So the median income is 39,000, right? The median home is 440. And in some areas less and more balanced, sure, but a lot of them are like this way. And as we do this, you know, in-depth look, we're going to mainly focus on our city because we want to go out in the streets. We're going to be talking to people. We're going to try to go to some homeless shelters, some women's shelters as well too, like for battered women, and just talk to, you know, these human beings.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we really want to hone in on this episode is what we're planning to do. And if you guys out there have any ideas or you've done any of this before and you want to share some ideas, we are all for it, man. We want to try to drive solutions, and we want to bring in the hardcore capitalist that thinks that everybody just makes all these decisions. That there's no rewiring of the brain when they're a little kid.
Right.
It screws them up.
But,
and we want the humanitarian who also comes in, and we want them to come together and solve the fucking problem.
Well, so here's my kind of my challenge to you, to anyone that's watching or has watched this podcast before and thinks that Wes and I are too liberal. And because I've heard that a lot of times. I challenge you to help us in this series. Help us figure this out, or try to figure it out, or try to shed some more light on it, in a less liberal way, I guess. So we are hoping that all of you can collaborate with us and trying to shed light on this issue.
And let me real quick just break down, and we need to get over these stigmatas and stigmas. Sorry, stigmata, Jesus Christ. We need to get over these stigmas, short circuit. But stigmatas are fun too, and you just get the little, you know, the Jesus marks. But anyways, I live my life a quarter of a mile at a time.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing else matters. Nothing family.
It's Unfiltered.
All right. So, anyways, but these stigmas of these words, right, is right. There's nothing wrong with conservatism. There's nothing wrong with liberalism. There's nothing wrong with progressivism, socialism, communism. The problem is there's any ism, sexist, like when they get extreme, that's where we have a problem.
Yeah.
We want a mix. If somebody makes a little hot joke, it's a little bit of sexual, like big deal. Somebody comes up and slaps Kenny on the night, like, hey, whoa, you went past the line.
Yeah.
So when you're too conservative, you have a problem. When you're too liberal, you have a problem. When you're too communist, you have a problem. You're too socialist. So these stigmas, we have to get away from these. These are being used. They're dog whistles. They're trying to teach you guys to not listen to simple fucking facts. And that's all it is.
Yeah.
From CNN to Fox to Newsmax to OAN, like MSNBC, like these are people, we've talked about this so much, guys, but we have to get this through to you.
Yeah. So
they repeat their bullshit every night. So we're going to repeat our actual truth to you, that they will do this.
And I guess another kind of questions or that we've had on the podcast is we'll be hitting you with straight facts now. I mean, it's just like we will have the data for you. Yeah. But anyways,
because we want to blow we want your minds to get blown, to realize, like my clients today that I asked her, and I'll just let you know that they did not vote for, and I didn't vote for Biden, and I didn't vote for Trump.
I voted for Biden, and I don't know why people have an issue saying that. Yeah, I voted for Biden. I wrote in the last two elections, and I can tell you that, and that's just how I feel. The reason why I say that is that people are like,
yeah. Oh, don't be ashamed. Your power, right. Your vote is your power.
It's your vote.
And I had people like unfriend me for me posting that they're like, how could you not like Trump? I said, because my vote is my power. And if I write in the person I think we should have had, like we've talked about before, the greater of five goods instead of the lesser of two evils bullshit, which is another thing that they do to trick us. Yeah. Right? They prop these people up who were born into wealth. We've talked about this. Point is, I digress on that, but I'm just explaining to you that these extremes are a problem. So we want to blow your guys' mind instead of dog whistling to you every night on the news about some dumb bullshit. So you guys will just continue to like be all ramped up. So one of the first things I asked my client, and again, love him to death. I go over there all the time, see their little son, hang out with the dude. It's not me.
Well, you know that I have like really conservative friends too.
I mean, this is not shitting on them. I really enjoy these people. And if they ever watch this,
I love them.
They know I love them to death. Yeah. But I asked her I was actually thought she was going to blow my mind. I said, hey, do you know how much we spend? Because we talk about a lot of stuff over training. You're there an hour. You got to have something to talk, right? Like, and I asked her, do you know how much we spend per person on homeless people? Yeah. This is per person per year in Denver, Colorado, on homeless people. She said verbatim, oh, I do know. I've actually done a lot of research on this. So I said, oh, cool. I was expecting her to be in the ballpark. She said $700 to $800 per person per year.
$700 a year.
Let's put this up real quick.
As you guys can see here, this is a study done by the University of Colorado, Denver, this last April of 2021. And this is pretty remarkable findings.
So, Kenny, you can read to them what research is at CU, as you guys see on the camera now.
Researchers at the University of Colorado, Denver, and the business-oriented free enterprise advocacy group Common Sense Institute said Thursday, Denver spends between $42,000 and $104,000 each year per homeless person.
Per homeless person, and this, you guys are seeing this on camera. You see the actual their source, and this is
$42,000.
That's minimum. That's minimum.
Is the minimum, guys.
And understand,
not what was it?
$800.
Yeah.
And that was her perception. And the moment I said that, she started pivoting and trying to like play all these games. Like, dude, you cannot play those games.
Okay.
Just say, oh shit, I was way off. Because we got to start there so that you know you're so far fucking off. If I told you I have $42,000 in my backpack over there and that one has 800, are you running to the 800? Hell no, you're running to that one. And those are so far off that you're not even close. And you said you did the research.
So I will say this, and I'll refer back to the Econ 2020 conference that I was attending. So that did come up. So we're spending all of this money, and that's per one person, right? So $42,000 on the lower end.
It's probably closer to 60 average.
Yeah. $42,000 on the lower end for a homeless person, but we in Colorado are now identifying ways to incorporate more affordable housing into the pipeline here. So we have a whole bunch of market rate, which I work on market rate communities. But it's now being seen. Now, the big thing that they don't want to do. So this is the major conversation that was had, right? So they don't want they don't want to make the California mistakes. Okay. Yeah. So that was talked about a whole bunch on this call. So what they're trying to do is, get more land, underdeveloped land, and build these affordable communities. Yet now on the other side, we need buy-in from the right to get these grants and all of these other fundings approved. But
we're already paying for it.
If we're already paying for it, but they see it as different, they see it differently, so they don't approve these grants.
Yeah.
They see it as not helping people. So, and I touched on one thing. So I touched on mental health. I didn't touch on domestic violence. I didn't touch on. There's a whole gamut of reasons.
You said the way they're raised, but there's
a whole gamut.
Most of them have to do with like raised or like something that happened internally,
right,
in a home or they were in an accident. Like there's very seldom that somebody had this like just glorious life. And I don't mean, when I say glorious, guys, I don't mean like, well, I'm talking like loving parents. They had most of the stuff. It was a pretty, they had very minimal things that happened to them. Those are going to be few and far between who fell that far.
Yeah.
It's going to be like people, like I said, domestic, like things that just have happened in their life. And again, we watch somebody get hit by a car or trip and hit their face. And instead of going, oh my God, like what would you do if you saw somebody? I ask you guys, like, seriously, if you saw like a lady, a guy, anybody fall and smack her and you see them gushing blood, are you literally the type that goes by them and just like, oh, gross? Because I had a guy, and this is another story, and I have facts and proof of this, and I'll post this about this too. I have the pictures of this. A gentleman at Walgreens off Dry Creek and Walgreens, at Walgreens off Dry Creek in Yosemite, started having a seizure right in front of a bunch of people outside, was smacking his face on the ground. There's blood pouring out everywhere. Multiple people walked by me. I was yelling for them to go get the call 911.
When was this?
This was about probably about like a year ago. I have the pictures. I'll put them on here in a second. Of the pool of blood that sat there at Walgreens for another week. Like they didn't even clean it up. I had people tell me, I wouldn't literally tell me I wouldn't touch him. You could be liable. The dude his arm is pinned here and he's slapping.
Liable for what?
Slapping his face on the ground. But
liable for what?
Well, mind you, I have some education, that's why I understand. But like, they think I'd be liable for it if I help him and it hurts him any further. I then called and made sure he was okay at the hospital. I actually literally told Skyridge where he was taken. I stayed there till the ambulance came. I helped talk on his phone. I saw anyway. And the point is, who are you guys? Like, which person are you? Because if you're the person that like walks into Walgreens, like this lady said to me when I'm yelling to go get me some medical gloves, give me some water. She goes, I wouldn't touch them. You'd be liable. Walked right in. I had to run in myself, yell for the manager to call 911, give me some medical gloves. And the people are like, I'll pay for them. I don't give a dude. I need some gloves. The guy's bleeding. Do I want to get like his blood on me? No. But like, for the love of God, just do something. Are you that person? What kind of person are you? Have you been conditioned to be that person who doesn't give a fuck about somebody else?
Well,
because if you are, you need to get your head kicked.
Here's the thing.
And I don't mean that literally, I mean metaphorically.
Here's the thing. We've all been going through a lot. We've all seen a lot, especially within the last 4 years. But Wes raises a great question. What person are you going to wake up and be? Are you going to wake up and be that person that lets that person bleed to death all over and just walk in and mind your own business? Or are you going to be the person that helps them, calls 911 and gets some gloves? I mean, it boggles my mind that we even have to have this conversation today in 2022. Are you going to be the person that helps the person in need? Or are you going to walk away? Are you going to turn your back?
Yeah.
And, we talk about, the United States being built on these core values and, we help thy neighbor, all this other.
But those values, they've taught these networks, these opinion networks have taught you to walk those values right out your fucking back door.
Right.
And you guys are not understanding this from that standpoint. And like I said, I even went further. I called Skyridge and I told them, I'm a gentleman who was there with the guy. I know you can't tell me like exactly what's going on with him. Can you just let me know that he's alive and he's safe? Mm-hmm. They called, they came back, it was like on hold. They asked for my phone number. They said the guy is fine. He wants to call me. He wanted to thank me. Like, and I'm not expecting you guys to go that level. I'm just explaining like, can you just say, who are you? What kind of person are you?
Yeah.
Like, if you understood what it was like to grow up, how a good portion of people grew up,
right,
you would probably understand that. And I want to put that slide back up real quick. And as you see it right here, when we talked about the how much we're spending, I want the capitalists right now to be paying attention to this because the humanitarian is already there. The people like me are already there. That's this side of me that's humanitarian, and the capitalist side of me
numbers, bro.
How do I get this to like make sense?
Yeah.
Well, it says right here, as you guys see, we spend $42,000 minimum. Keep that in mind, minimum. The disparity of the $104,000 was when they commit crimes, things of that nature, right? So it's probably, as I said, about $60,000. As you guys can see right here, the rental housing group's estimate, the average annual rent for a one-bedroom unit is about $20,000. Now, what is most people's complaint? Oh, these tents are on the road. So let's get them out. Let's get them a house first.
Well, then that becomes an issue.
But
then they have an issue with that
because they think they're
going to be taxed.
We're spending
they're going to be
money
getting something
anyway.
free. You can't. You know what? Pick
a poison.
Pick a struggle, please.
Yeah.
You can't. I mean, you can't
have it both ways.
You can't have it both ways. If you want the tents off of the damn sidewalks, you got to build some affordable housing. You got to help out with mental health. You got to help out with these women that are being abused. You have to create programs.
My mom was being beat.
Yeah, you have to create. Not everyone is going to be like you. Not everyone is going to have the opportunities that you have. So yeah, sometimes other people need a little bit more help, and that's what we do in America. We help thy neighbor, right?
This was meant to be an experiment. America is an idea. This is a melting pot of people. This is the reason why Kenny is here, why I'm here. There's nobody here that has any right to be talking about go back to this country, unless you're indigenous people and you were here first. And to that, we can only all say we're sorry because people that came here on the Mayflower, which was, and more in Spanish and French, blah, 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 genocided most of those people, just terrible, right? But the reality is that's how people view people.
Yeah.
And I have a terrible story, and again, we'll talk about some of this stuff, but let me I'll bring this up real quick. Yeah. One of my clients grew up poor, white-skinned Israel guy, came here with nothing, was able to, with loving parents and good support system, him and his brother made a multi-million-dollar business. They couldn't be better people. They want people off the street too. They would pay 50% tax. He tells me all the time. But his own wife, who grew up in West Africa, who has skin like my brother Kenny here, and his neighbor who lives over off Arapahoe, they live in $2 million homes, double Bronco people live up in there anyway, from Jacksonville anyway. And she told her at one point, this is his wife, keep in mind, grew up in royalty in West Africa, kind of grew up the opposite of husband, right? Told her go back, and this is some of the nicer things. Told her to go back to her roots. Told her that she was basically like faking her bougie lifestyle. But what does go back to your roots really mean? Yeah. It's this. They didn't tell him to do that. Right. And he's the one who grew up poor. Right. So again, this was an idea. We have let propaganda turn our own people against ourselves, while the richest of the rich, the top 2%, has increased their wealth by $5.3 trillion fucking dollars.
Yeah, I mean, over 2 years. Yeah, we've talked about that in at nauseum, right? So it's
all intertwined though. We've lost 4.8 billion, the working class, in the same time. That is that is not, money is matter, like my phone here. If I don't have it, and it's in Kenny's hand, it doesn't mean that I lost it. If Kenny took it from me, I didn't lose it, it was taken. Yeah. The working class didn't voluntarily give that 4.8 trillion. It was taken from them through means of propaganda to get you to go buy their crap instead of buying a nice t-shirt from us to try to help us out and us promote why we need to solve this problem. Right. So we're going to bring more of this content to you guys, but we want you to realize that this is the path we're going to start going down. We're going to start getting out on the street. If you want to come with us, you want to come help bring food to people, all that shit.
Listen,
it's time to make action.
So I think that's, and can you tell we're a little bit passionate about this?
Very passionate.
This is the time that we start actually putting things into action. Now, we've talked to you guys for, I don't know, almost 20 episodes, more than 20 episodes, about things that can be changed, things that should be changed, but you're going to actually see us change. You're going to actually see us out in the streets. You're going to actually see us out there when it's cold, when it's freezing, when we're uncomfortable. That's how you're going to see us. We're going to be making that change. And you know what? I hope that you come with us on this journey. I honestly do, because it's an important journey. It's that important. Now, my brother Wes said, he mentioned that, he grew up with not a lot of money. I was fortunate growing up, right? So, my mom worked so many hours though to ensure that I had everything that I needed. So I know the struggle. I get the struggle. I've seen the struggle.
Worked a lot.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And your mom should have been able to work like 30 hours a week.
Let me tell you this though.
You know what I mean? I respect her, but
my mom, until recently, she just told me that we were one check away from losing our home. And I never even knew it, guys. I never even knew that until I'm almost 40 years old. She just told me that. Yeah. You know what I mean?
How many of y'all had your lights shut off? How many of y'all had your water shut off?
Right.
Like, that's not happening to Tucker Carlson. Get that through your fucking souls. Tucker. It's not happening. He's part of the Swanson Foundation, like their family fortune. Like, they do nothing but put bad foods in kids. I mean, we've talked about these people. I'm just saying, understand that. Yeah. They're not the same as you. They're not going to be over there helping you to move. They're not. They're not going to be helping these homeless people off the street. They're the fucking clowns who kick them while they're down. Yeah. That's what they do. That's why we have 550,000 homeless people. It's because we've let these people run this world. It's not just here. It's around the world. Right. And other countries are taking drastic measures in a good way. Finland, we're going to talk about that. What they're doing. I mean, it's just, like we said, you got to pick them up first.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we'll talk about
you guys. Continue on this journey with us, and if you haven't already done so, go ahead and subscribe to all of our social media channels. You can find us on Instagram at Unfiltered Idiots
_ IG.
Unfiltered Idiots _ IG. UF Idiots on Twitter and Facebook. Podcast on
everywhere podcasts are found. Apple, Spotify, all that. Buy some merch. You guys can buy some of our merch. Always remember the merch. support.
You know what? I'm like
people.
18, 19 episodes and I still can't get our social medias right.
Yeah.
So you guys know where to find us.
But we're
links
out there
in bio.
Yeah, and we're out there everywhere, man. And please, like, share this. Give us some ideas, like, because again, you know, this is like the MLK approach. This is, you know, these types of approaches, right? Like, those we're stronger together, right? And you know, even though Hillary tried to hijack that shit, you know, her for that, but like, I love this thing.
Hillary still can't. I know. Like, and people are still coming for her throat.
That person.
She's just coming. Yeah. She's minding her own business.
But
she's still getting flipped off.
We're stronger together, guys. And like, the more ideas that we have, the better we all work as a community. Let's get back to community. Let's get back to realizing your neighbor's likely in the same boat as you are, obviously.
Yeah.
And that person in the castle that you never see is not in that boat. So stop letting them take your money. Demand livable wages. Demand homelessness to be ended. We're going to have more series to come, but be prepared for this. Peace. We out.